Thanks everybody for joining us for this session. Bear with us a few minutes. We're going to hold on and let a few more people in, and then we'll get everything kicked off. This David O'Rourke guy is here too. I don't know what that's all about, but
Uh-oh.
we'll have to figure that out later. He seems to be trolling us in these Zoom sessions.
I'll be trolling him later on, so it'll all even itself out.
Exactly, right, exactly. This is really exciting. It's dinner time in Dublin. Ronan, what are you making for dinner tonight for us? Usually you post something on social media, so.
Moroccan meatballs
Okay.
with eggs in a tagine.
Fantastic.
Hope that works for everybody because
I'm-
I've got 5,000 meatballs downstairs.
How many tagines do you have?
A very big one, David.
Do they sell the Moroccan meatballs at what's that place? IKEA? Is that only the Swedish ones?
Oh no!
Okay.
Thankfully, it's just the Swedish ones. No offense, Joel. Yes, we have a gentleman from Sweden here.
Okay.
So yeah. he's planning to come to Berkeley, so maybe he's changed his mind after
Okay.
us insulting the meatballs.
Great. Well, why don't we get everything going? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jason Camelio, and I work in the Office of Global Initiatives at Berklee College of Music. And I'm joined today by my co-host and colleague, Ray Soul. We are happy to have you here. This is another edition of Global Connections. And this is a series that we've been producing now in COVID times. And it's a great opportunity for us to reach out into the world and connect with everybody and just I hope all of you are healthy. I hope your families are healthy and you're staying creative and musical and all that cool stuff. We're going to be observing the standard Zoom etiquette today. We are recording the session so that if you want to, and there's some cool information here that you want to go back and check out later, you can go back and see it online, and we'll share that link out to everybody. And we'll use the chat to share questions. And after we get through some presentation, we're just going to open it up. This is a casual hang. We're hoping that you're happy to unmute and turn your camera on and all that kind of stuff in the Q&A and just, connect. Let's get to know each other and talk about what you're interested in, especially with what we're going to be getting into today, which is this amazing connection that we have with Dublin City University's program, the Bachelors of Jazz and Contemporary Music, led by Ronan Guilfoyle, who's here joining us, and a few of his colleagues. We have Cormac O'Brien as well. And we also have joining us which is incredible because he's swamped. Now it's amazing to get a few minutes of his time, but he's been truly integral into this relationship, and that's our Dean of Admissions, Damian Bracken, who's here joining us. And we've got our Assistant Director of Admissions for the region, Marek Ditka, who's here as well. And Marek is also a Berkeley alumnus for all of you. And we've got some cool guests that I'm going to, as I turn this over to Ronan and Damian, I'm going to allow them to introduce them as we get into this conversation about the Berkeley track at Dublin City University, what we have on offer for you, and what it could mean for your career as you're, looking at studying at Dublin City University and at Berkeley. And it's a truly great experience, serious musical experience for those people who have had the opportunity to participate in it. And we're going to jump in. So Ronan, why don't you, if you don't mind, if you would, go in and introduce our special guests today, and then we'll get into learning a little bit more about their background.
Absolutely. I think it's indicative. I was just thinking about it. That the three guests that are here this evening are from three different countries, which I think is just indicative of the whole experience of this, and also of music and music education these days generally. So I'll introduce them to you, and I'll just give you a little bit of background. First of all, have here Sivan Arbel, who's now living in New York, but has got there via a very interesting path. So she studied in another very prominent Berkeley Global Partner School, the Rimon School in Tel Aviv in Israel, and at that time they didn't have a degree, so she, and along with several other students from Israel over the years, came to us as another partner school because they knew that the curriculums are aligned. Obviously, if we have the kind of agreement that we have where people can transfer credits into Berkeley, then obviously we have to align the curriculum, and that so therefore schools within the Berkeley Global Partner will have their curriculums aligned, and so ours was aligned, and so. Sivan came to us and finished her fourth year and finished her degree with us. So she's been to two Berkeley partner schools and is now in New York, which is doing very well. I'm traveling a lot. I think I've seen you in Russia. Have you been in Russia? And all kinds of places as well. So I think also Sivan's journey, I think, is, and the other two guests that we have is also indicative of the benefits of this kind of process, and also the internationalization of music and music education. So that's Sivan, and in the very exotic Maria Fajardo is in the very exotic city of Kathmandu, where she's very heavily involved in the Kathmandu. You can correct me. The full title, Jazz Conservatory. Yeah, that's it. And it's nearly midnight there, so I'm very happy and grateful that she's staying up so late. And she came to us and did the Berkeley track with us, spent I think 2 years with us, and then went on and finished her degree in Berkeley, and now is in Kathmandu. And again, I remember going to a Berkeley partnership meeting in Boston, and we were entertained, or we had a concert by this fantastic group of ladies, and there I was sitting there and I was saying, "Well, this music," and suddenly, God, that's Maria, and it was really a great moment, actually, that to see that, the level that she'd reached at that point. And another on Elliot Marchant is Elliot I met in London, actually. Do you remember that, Elliot? I don't know if you remember that, but
I do. I remember it well.
Yeah, we were at Berkeley auditions in London, and I was there, and I am hanging out, and I was chatting to Elliot, and I told him about that one option might be Dublin. So he came to us, and he spent 2 years with us, and the same year as Maria, they were certainly colleagues, and they were certainly in Berkeley together. So did 2 years with us, and now is producer, musician, session, I guess, in Los Angeles, right? You're in LA right now, I believe. Yeah,
I am. Yeah, I'm there right now. Yep.
So I think across the three guests, you get some kind of idea of the, the level that you can reach going through this process and going through these programs, and also the sheer diversity of stuff that's going on. Both teaching, I know Sivan, I think, is involved in education, and of course Maria is in Kathmandu. I'm not sure, Elliot, maybe you're too busy being a musician to teach you, but so composing, producing, singing, teaching, all of these things are, I think, indicative of what the modern musician is, which is basically has a wide range of skills and can bring them to many different situations. And I think that our three guests this evening are an absolutely perfect example of this, and I want to thank them all for coming. And I think it might be nice to when we go to the questions, maybe the questions don't always have to be directed to myself or Damien or Jason. It'd be very good for you if you want to ask Elliot, Maria, and Sivan, because they've been through the process and they've been through, so that they can give you the benefit of their experience.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested to hear from our guests. So, Sivan and Maria and Elliot, when you were beginning to think about studying music and going off and following this pathway, because a lot of our guests here are, our attendees are having this question. What was the what is it that, what is it that you were looking for, and why did you seek out the programs that you sought? Any of you, please jump in and share your thoughts. How is it that you found the institutes that you went to and decided to go on the path that you took?
Mind jumping in, if that's
Go ahead,
easy?
Elliot.
I definitely was looking to find some kind of community where I wasn't the person that cared the absolute most about the music I was making, which is what I was struggling to find that level of care and attention to detail. And I just had this idea that Berkeley was going to be really great. I don't know why. It was a bit of a moment of faith, really, because I never even visited by the time I got there. I thought it'd be great. And I met Ronan at the audition, and it just made a lot of sense. And also it would make it a little bit more financially realistic as well, which also was another part. It was able to live in a different country, and I was able to save a little bit of money too, but also getting the best of both worlds. So it ended up working out really well, but I just had this idea of what Berkeley was from what I'd seen online, and just really went for it and hoped that it would be what I thought it would be. And it ended up being better in both cases. And I loved my time in Ireland as well. And I wouldn't have lived there otherwise. So it's very fun in my heart. And I think it worked out the best, personally.
Great. Thanks, Elliot. Maria, what are your thoughts on this? What was your plan and how did it all work out?
My plan is always to jump, I think. So like I really had a connection with Dublin because my mom was there when she was pregnant. Sorry, my cat is deciding that tonight is the night where she makes a mess. So if you guys hear something breaking, that's her. So I really, my mom had a connection with Ireland, and I saw this school online, and I saw that they had the Berkeley track. So I wanted to go to Berkeley since I was like 17, because my godmother, when I was like not convinced if I wanted to do music, because I really thought that I wasn't good enough, but everybody in my family was like, Maria, you really need to do this. You are singing all the time. What are you doing? No? And she paid this Berkeley 5 weeks. So from then I was like in love with Berkeley. It was more like a childish kind of thing now that I think about it. But yeah, so I was like, okay, I'll go to Dublin, because that way, the same thing that I just said, like you save some money, you don't have to, and you also kind of start crafting yourself, because what I did know about Berkeley is that it's so big that once you get there, you need to have a little bit of an idea of what you want to do. I mean, you don't need to, but if you want to get the best out of the experience, I think that would help you, no? And in my case, it did help. So I'm really happy that I went to Dublin, because I really worked on things that were essential, and I was lucky enough to get a scholarship, which helped, and I could save some money, like Elliot said. So that was a little bit my thought process there and my experience. And I am super happy that I did, because it gave me so much perspective from different worlds, also a little bit of like Europe, which is also very important. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. This is great. And Sivan, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I started in Israel, and yeah, I really had the same thought as everyone. Like, I really want to go to Berkeley for some reason. I did the audition, didn't get the scholarship, and I mean, once again, Israel has amazing musicians, but it's really, really small. So I was just looking to explore more of the world. And then my jazz department person said, oh, there's a program with Dublin. And I was like, Dublin? Never thought in my life that I would set foot there. And I said, okay, let's jump. Let's go for it. And Ronan came, did the audition, and I got a scholarship and went for that opportunity. So grateful to have that perfect timing, because yeah, it just led me to where I am today. So just grateful for that.
Very cool. And I guess, for the three of you, can you talk a little bit about, what is it like to be a student in a contemporary music or a jazz or contemporary music focused program? Because maybe, some of us might have studied in a classical music program or a program that's more focused on, maybe even music education. But when you're in an environment where you're doing, popular music, contemporary music, jazz music, how was it for you? What did it allow you to do? What is it that you think was beneficial? What are the things that were, great takeaways versus, as far as helping you build toward your career?
I guess I'll jump. Wow. I love the program. I think Ronan and the staff did a really good job with putting a lot of different things. And I was there only for 1 year. I wasn't even in the first 3 years. I was just there for one. And I got introduced to so many different things that, from like different rhythm aspects, different types of like composers, if it's like early on in the days until nowadays contemporary jazz. And even and fourth year is also a lot of self-expression. Like they're like, here's an assignment and now you can go do like whatever you want with it, for example, composition. So it's like, here's an idea, but now you can make it your own, which I think in the first 3 years it's more direct. Maybe Ronan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and of course the program is like 1,000,000% international. So that is just another introduction to so many beautiful things that music and life has to give you. So I know it definitely influenced my musical path and the music that I compose today.
Yeah, I do see, yes, jump in there I do see you doing the conical Tuesdays or whatever it is that you do. Isn't that right?
Geeky Tuesdays.
Geeky Tuesdays, sorry. Yeah, she does all this conical stuff on it. I'm thinking, right. Oh, it's amazing the damage you can do with conical. Yeah, look at this now, Geeky Tuesday. So you should check out Sivan's Geeky Tuesday she has it on her Facebook page. I'm sure other things.
Oh man, so that means that I really have to do one tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. Sivan, throw it in the chat here so people can come and hang with you for sure. Maria and Elliot, could you talk about your experience at DCU and then your experience at Berkeley? What were the things that were similar to you about those experiences, classroom musical experiences, and then just like the community, the vibe?
Well, I thought I had two very different experiences in the most wonderful way. And I think the fact that I did most of my core music in terms of the transferred credits in Dublin. So that was me really kind of just training my ear, which is obviously, I think, the most important thing. And just really just going deep into jazz harmony and all the rhythm studies and ear training, and also the ensembles, right? Really, really wonderful. And jumping off to what Maria said, like, I think it is good to have a bit of time to also think of what you want to do if you're going to Berkeley, to try and really focus more. And I was able to do that because I knew I wanted to produce primarily. So I was going to do the production degree. But I loved the fact that I was doing core music in Dublin, and I was really just kind of doing the meat of the music, like really kind of just getting into the really important things. Because when I got to Berkeley, I felt really sharp and attuned to just do all the production stuff. And I felt like I wasn't going to be held back because I was feeling very sharp musically to be able to do the other stuff. Because I produce and I also do composition for like sync and stuff like that. That's my main thing. I was playing a lot of music, but it was nice. It was really great to have just 2 years just really focused on like core music, to then just do whatever you want afterwards, just completely free and sharp. So that was, I think I really enjoyed those two things. Excellent. Plus I met my girlfriend in Dublin. So and she also went to this course. So that was nice. And we both live out here in LA. So that was cool.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Very cool. Maria, how about you? What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are that Elliot's girlfriend is the coolest human. But yeah, apart from that, I love her. That's another thing that Dublin gave me, actually, Hannah. But I love her. But honestly, yes, Dublin gave me a very nice sense of community because it was such a small school at that moment, and so international, and so many people going through the same experience, So like we were quite close, and it was beautiful. I actually am working right now with another person that I went to Dublin with that is helping us with the online classes in the school that I work with. So it's really like, and then when I go to Berkeley, the core music being done was amazing. Like I could just focus on what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to do songwriting. I did one semester, and then I was like, oh, this is not for me. And I did performance. And I was just so happy. And I actually think that the education that I got in Dublin, like, was very sharp, like I had no problems with music theory, no problems with ear training. Like I was kind of flying in those things. And it's because it was like this kind of jazz-based education where you really need to be like knowing what you're doing as a singer. And I love that I also got not only like that push, but as examples of singers that know what they're doing very well, which was very important for me personally, because there were a lot of things about being a singer that I didn't identify with, and Dublin really helped me with that. And when I went to Berkeley, I was pretty clear of the path, and that was super important for me. Yeah. And the community was just great, and I got to experience both, so I'm really grateful.
This is great to hear. So I'd like to turn it over to you, Ronan, for a second, because this is, what you've built with your team is really interesting. And this is really the first opportunity that we're getting to share this in a broad scale with an audience. Can you talk about, how it is that your program is unique in Ireland? And, we've heard many times it's very international. There's a lot of students from outside of Ireland that are in the program, but we're also hearing that it's a very highly detailed program. There's a great community there. So what is it about it that makes it so attractive?
Well, its kind of origins, to go back for a moment to its origins. I mean, so I came up as a self-taught player, and I went. The real eye opener for me was when I went to the Banff Centre for the Arts, the amazing jazz summer school they have there, and I went there in 1986, and I realized that they were mostly American. My fellow students were mostly Americans. Everybody just had access to information that I just didn't have at that time, and this just didn't exist in Dublin. And that was a total eye opener for me. Now, I learned a lot, as you do as a self-taught player as well. You learn in a different way and you learn a lot of stuff. But I also realized that I did a lot of stupid stuff for years that could have been fixed in 10 minutes by a teacher who said, oh, no, you definitely don't want to do that. I remember discovering, for a couple of years I was playing the modes. I could play, somebody could see Phrygian on the page and no problem, I play it, absolutely no problem. But I didn't realize they were connected at all for about 2 years. It's amazing how you can, this kind of stuff. And I had this Todd Kuhlman book, and I opened it up, and there it was. The modes are based on the major scale, and I was going, holy shit, that's like I'm professionally playing at this point. So you can miss some stuff that's kind of vital, sometimes as a self-taught player, and so. We set about, it wasn't just me, myself, and my brother Connor and Tommy Halftree, who are still core members of the program. We really set about trying to provide some kind of educational thing, and it just grew from there. So what we have now is, and I travel a lot as part of my work, and I teach a lot in other schools, and I did some teaching in Berkeley. The first time was 1993, which is neither today nor yesterday. So I've been doing it a long time. And what I've tried to do is to bring back the best of those places. I'd always talk to people and always be finding out what's going on. I have a very good friend who's a great professor of guitar in Berkeley, Rick Peckham, and I spent a lot of time working with him professionally, but also just talking to him about how things worked in Berkeley. Of course, I know Jason and Damien for a long time. And of course, Berkeley and probably North Texas State and Indiana University are basically the foundations of jazz education all around the world. That's basically based on the way those three institutions evolved jazz education. So we aligned before we even knew Berkeley. We were aligning with, we knew them personally. We knew who they were, of course. We were aligning our curriculum with the kind of stuff that they do, because basically they created it years ago. And then as we found the opportunity to create a degree, I was determined that we would make it as rigorous as possible. So we put together a program that is specifically in our program, for the first, it is a performance program. So therefore, you really are working on performance a lot. And there are many other music programs in Ireland, but they don't have the same focus on performance unless there's a couple of classical ones that do, but they're classical. So we're the only one that has performance as its core. We're the only one that has the kind of curriculum that we have, which is basically what Berkeley call core curriculum. Basically harmony, ear training, very rigorous harmony, ear training, composition, rhythm studies. This is our kind of core way of rhythm studies as well. Ensembles, chances to play, all of that stuff too, an individual class every week and a group class every week, all of this kind of thing. And we're very focused on giving people what I would consider to be an international standard education. I think that's really important. I think especially when you come from a small place like Israel, like Ireland, like Sweden, small countries, it's very easy to think that the standard that you have in your local place is the standard. And then you go outside and then you realize that that's actually not the case. So music is tremendously transferable these days. Not right now because we're all locked in our rooms, but under normal circumstances we're traveling, everybody's traveling to work. That's the way it is. I mean, if you look at the three guests we have, Savannah's from Israel, she's now in New York, Maria is from Spain, and then she's in Kathmandu, and Elliot's from England, and he's now in Los Angeles. That's exactly the example right there. So in order for them to do that, they need, I think, or for anybody to do that, you need to have access to the kind of information that can allow you to flourish in any musical situation that you go to and any place that you go to. And I think it's really great that, I feel I have a certain fellow feeling with Maria, I have to say, in what they're doing in Kathmandu, in the sense they're really pioneering education there, and they're bringing that kind of knowledge to a place that didn't have it before, or that it wasn't readily available. So I think that that's her training with us and with Berkeley allows her to do that and gives the people now in Nepal and Kathmandu the benefit of that. I think feel the same thing with Elliot and his, what he's doing as producer, and Sivan, what she's doing with her, her composing, and also should know she's a dancer as well. So it's a double threat, isn't it, what they call it? But so what we provide is the tools to do what you want to do with music. There's basic stuff you just have to have these days. You just have to. And we would like to think that we provide those tools for people who want to take them on and do creative and interesting things with them.
Cool.
I think you hit on a really important point there, Ronan, this whole concept of access to music education that you otherwise wouldn't have. So this whole program, the global Berkeley Global Partners program, the seed of this idea was planted in 1988. And it was Gary Burton and Larry Monroe working with the president of the college at that time, Lee Burke, and thinking about how can we internationalize Berkeley? How can we spread the Berkeley gospel, if you will, across the globe? And there had been, in 1988, there had been a 2-week program in Hamamatsu, Japan. The following year was the first year that I ever participated in a Berkeley international program in Hamamatsu. And the concept of internationalizing the college in Boston was kind of sown through these programs. So in 1993, Larry Monroe identified 3 schools, Ramon being one of them in Israel, and a school in Barcelona and a school in Athens, Greece, who are all to this day still part of this Berkeley global network. And, the concept is give more people access to the information. And for some people, that means this kind of transferable process where you go to a school perhaps in your home country or perhaps not, as in Steven's case or Maria's case. And then you transfer to Berkeley in what's typically your 5th semester of study. And then you can complete your Berkeley degree in Boston in about 5 semesters total. So it makes it more affordable. It also makes it more accessible in that Berkeley comes to visit those schools every year. You can audition with Berkeley every year for scholarship consideration. And Berkeley's awarding now up to $70 million in scholarships every year. That's another area of Berkeley that's grown exponentially since we started this whole thing. Now at Berkeley, we have 103 countries that are represented in our student body, which is like the coolest thing ever. And virtually every state in the United States is represented in the student body. So you've got this incredible mixture of cultures and influences and musics from all over the world, which makes for a really interesting kind of blend of ideas that that happen there kind of just naturally in this kind of organic way, with students just kind of like clashing together from all different cultures and creating new music.
That's great, Damon. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I think, you know, we've talked a lot. We've shared a bunch of information here, and I think we should open it up for our audience. You know, you've got 3 accomplished young musicians who are out in the world doing the work, and now's a great chance to just fire questions at them. Ask them anything you want about music, anything you'd like to ask them about their studies, their trajectory. Siddharth, you've you know, chimed in the chat here. You've got a specific question about ear training, and maybe we'll start with that, and then that might help some of our other audience members here think of other questions that they'd like to ask. Could be for anything. Could be for Ronan and the team at DCU. Could be for Damien and Madik, the admissions team at Berkeley, or for our guests as well. So, you know, Maria and Elliot and Sivan, you know, as musicians, obviously your training is critical. Could you give us any insight into, you know, how you work on this, whether it's on your own or the things that you've done in class? How did you spend time improving your abilities with your ears?
Just trying to think. It's like a kind of an ongoing process, really. I think personally, I would always just I play piano and guitar, so I just for years would just try and just transcribe things just by ear. I still do that all the time. So, oh, that's fun. Do a bit of this, and then it was really great to just have a focused curriculum of the books were amazing, and just going through these really extreme exercises that I would never do by myself. So the ear trying to do myself is often a lot more kind of agreeable and fun. It was nice to be pushed out of my comfort zone to learn a lot faster. So I think it's a mix of just the pleasure of music and just doing some stuff that you want to learn for yourself, and then also being told by someone else stuff that you would never choose by yourself that may be terrifying, and it's going to take a lot longer, but it's going to push you further too. So I think a mix of just a discipline and also just remembering the fun and the reason why you like music in the first place, and trying to do little challenges for yourself like that. That's what I try and keep onto.
Cool. Thank you. Maria and Sivan. Sivan, go ahead.
I know I'm a vocalist, but regardless to that, I think that everyone who's a instrumentalist or not, the core thing is to feel it, like, and to hear it inside of every part of you. And I think that, well, from my experience in my tiny life, I've seen that the more you internalize things by singing it and clapping, feeling it, because we are a feeling in a body, you know. So I think that especially for instrumentalists, don't be afraid to open your mouth and to sing those things, because the more you do it, the more you internalize it, and then just don't sleep. Just do it over and over until you get hungry.
Excellent. Maria?
Hello, Siddhant. can you just type very quickly, where are you from? You have a Hindu name, no? So maybe you are from India. My experience with ear training has changed a lot. Okay. Since I came to Nepal. I was never very, very good at it. Like I was good, like I good grades when I was in Berkeley and stuff. I still didn't feel like I was a very good reader. I think I got traumatized when I was a child a little bit by classical music. But for me, it really, really helped what Sivan is telling. Like, this is for me, my, like, if you have like a rule, yes, like feeling it, I sing everything. Like I try to sing everything I hear. If I hear a chord, I sing it, and then I figure it out, because I think that the intuition is built in before the knowledge. And it's something I learned in Kathmandu by teaching like students that are self-taught and that have a classical Eastern background, that the classical Eastern way of thinking about melodies is super good for ear training. Like they know what they're singing when they're doing the saregam. So I adopted more the movable do solfege, which is taught in Berkeley, which for me, I know it's very polemical, especially because I was raised in countries where do means C. It's very polemical, but for me, it worked amazing. I think that if you find something that works for you, you need to stick to that. And for me, it was that and singing everything, because that's also that reassured me when I came here and I saw that Eastern classical teachers, they teach you a lot of singing. And yeah, just everything I hear, I sing it and then I figure it out, you know, like without any other instrument. And I think that that's the first thing that I would give an advice. That's what I tell my students, and maybe they hate me for that, but who knows?
It's also a good idea as a performer as an instrumentalist, I should say, to internally sing the piece of music that you're about to play. When I was competing classical piano, I would always sing the first phrase before I started, and then I would articulate what I just sang. And so it's a very, very helpful process to get into the habit of. There's a question here about how to apply for a scholarship to Berkeley. And we make it as easy as we possibly can for all of our applicants to get access to scholarship. There's no additional form that you need to fill out. It's simply part of the application process. So when you apply to Berkeley, you'll be scheduled for an audition and interview, and you'll submit your transcripts to Berkeley. And then all of that information is used, the audition, the interview, and your academic transcripts, to determine your eligibility for a scholarship. So no additional steps are necessary.
I'll just say there's a question there about the ear training, and Elliot said that they were part of the curriculum in Dublin, and they still are. We use the Berkeley ear training 1 through 4. So, which are very, as anyone who's gone through them will tell you, they're very rigorous, and they work very incrementally. So I think that they're incredibly useful. So we use those in the first 2 years of the program. So people who are planning to go on to Berkeley will be ready for that, because it's a Berkeley system that we're using.
I would have a question to Damien, if it is possible.
Please go ahead.
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Benjamin. I did the audition for Berkeley last year because I wanted to go straight to Berkeley. And then when I went to DCU, because I had to do my audition at DCU, I met Ronan, I met DCU, and I felt like I wanted to do at least my first year at DCU.
Great.
And so my pathway to go to Berkeley is a bit weird. Like I changed my mind like a few times, etc., how I will do it. Yeah. And I got the scholarship for Berkeley. I got accepted to Berkeley and I got the scholarship. Fantastic. And it was said on the letter that it would be available until this January. And so like I'm not sure if I will have to audition again. If like, let's say next year I want to go to Berkeley to transfer my credits, if I have to audition again to like keep or remake this scholarship.
Yeah, Benjamin, it's better for you to re-audition, because assuming that you've developed as a musician at DCU, you will likely do better when you re-audition with Berkeley. I can only hope so, unless Ronan's ruined you, which is also a possibility, I guess.
Yeah, well, we do our best.
Cool. Other questions? Anybody here? Benjamin, if you have more, anybody else, feel free to unmute. This isn't a casual hang. We're happy to speak with you directly with any thoughts or questions that you have.
I want to just quickly answer one of the questions.
Go ahead, Elliot, please.
There was a question in the chat from Tiago about the course in Dublin and transfer to Berkeley. Is it possible to do a different course like film composition? And if you do you graduate with both degrees or just one? And I just wanted to say that the credits in Dublin are the core music credits, so it's not actually tied to any particular major. So it's not like you have to do one or the other thing. When you go to Boston, you then, after a semester or two, then you decide what you're going to do. So you have a little bit of time, even when you're in Boston, to decide your track, so to speak. And it's not, doesn't matter. It's just the core music applies to all majors.
There is a specific prereq for film scoring specifically that you need to take before declaring your major of film scoring. So that would be something that you would want to make sure you're doing in your first semester attending Berkeley, if you want to ultimately take a film scoring degree.
I have a question about that.
Go ahead, Joel.
Specifically that, because that's what I want to do.
Sorry, I'll just explain to the Berkeley. Joel is with us along with Benjamin, they're both on the Berkeley track. So just to give you that background. Sorry, Joel, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was reading through the Berkeley track guidebook, I think, and it said there that we were encouraged to declare our major before coming to Berkeley, but I guess that wouldn't be possible if I want to do film scoring. Or would it be possible to do the introductory course online or something during my last semester here? Or is that out of the question? Is it?
That's a great question. Ray, do you want to answer that question for us? Because you actually were able to work this out with academic affairs at Berkeley, right? Ray?
Sure. Hello, Joel.
Hello.
Yeah, so right now, officially, the major that you could declare before coming to Berkeley is MP&E. And it really depends on the chairs, but basically, you could reach out to the department and ask questions about that the declare process, because many of them understand that you already have finished your core and now it's ready for you to actually declare a major even before coming to Berkeley. You would love to actually speak with the chairs or department the staff about the possibility. As far as I know, the MP&E decided, because they have very rigorous the process of declaring your major, and it is even impossible to do it on the campus when you don't have the core, the major or the credit. You didn't finish it, because they only allow students who finish the first year, and then they can apply for the actual additional step to actually do essays and interviews and everything. But as far as I know, they think that those process for global partner student doesn't need that, because they already have intention to apply for MP&E. Then they could actually reach out to chairs, and they allow you to apply for the MP&E major. And EPD also, yeah.
How about, did we work this out with Sean McMahon in film scoring? Is he open to meeting with students that are coming in?
Yeah,
prior?
exactly. Yeah. So all the department, actually, it's not officially declared on the webpage, but unless except for the MP&E, they're willing to have discussion, because you're well enough when you have all this credit already, then you transfer everything for the first year, second year of credit worth of credit, then is matter of time. So I really urge you to reach out to chairs and each department coordinator when you go to their website. They have
I've emailed them actually, but
and
I haven't gotten any.
Because
reply.
For me, it's really a one-on-one consultation for a global partner. One of the things that good thing about being the global partner student is that they have direct access to chairs and the staff, because they know who you are already and then what school you're attending to. So it'll be easier for them to actually initiate conversation, and for you to actually initiate the conversation prior to actually come to Berkeley. So my answer to your question is officially MPNE is the one right now at this point. You could officially submit your stuff that they know what it is, but other department, feel free to engage with them. They're willing to actually speak, and if you're ready to go, and they will allow you to do it. So MPNE does it, CWP or any
What
other.
is that MPNE that you're saying? I don't know what that is.
Electric design and production.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
MPNE is a music production and design, music and production, and what is it?
Engineering.
Engineering.
Yes. So MPNE and EPD are very similar but different major. So
okay,
this answers your question.
MPD is great, by the way. I'll represent it all day long. It's a great degree.
I just want to say something to Joel. I don't know, Ronan, are you guys still not doing any liberal arts in?
No, we are.
No? Okay.
Of course, we're in a university now, so we have to. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we do. And actually, we're in discussion with Berkeley at the moment about expanding the transferable classes now that we have with that. So.
Okay, so they will go with a bit more classes than what we came with.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Because in our experience, it was a little bit different, because like, even if you can declare your major, there's so many things and classes that you can take without having declared your major that it for one semester is okay. You know, like in I don't know, in my case and in Elliot's case, it was like that. Like, it's not like if you don't arrive and you don't have your major, like it's still fine. You can fill your schedule with things that are gonna be helpful. Yeah. At least when I was there.
You have time. You have time for sure.
Yeah, I just want to save money, so like to get started as soon as possible. That's what I was thinking.
And so everybody here, as you're hearing Joel talk, this is like critical. I strongly recommend just ask the questions, keep poking, keep probing. The institutions are complex. There's a lot going on, but if you keep asking the questions and keep reaching out, you'll get the support, and people will advocate and step up and help you get these things resolved. So Joel, as you saw, Damien or I will get you connected with Sean McMahon.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are currently studying at DCU, I think Cormac, are you the key person? They're checking in for advising?
One of them, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, myself or Ronan, really.
And Ronan, so please check in with with either Ronan or Cormac, and as these things come up, as you're getting into that last year of your cycle, and you're getting ready to move on to hopefully Berkeley, they will help facilitate these connections so we can get these questions answered for you. We want the transition from DCU to Berkeley to be as seamless as possible, and we've got a great team in place on both sides of the ocean to do that for you. So, other questions here? Are there any more that came in through the chat, or anybody else that wants to? There's a question here from Alex.
I answered that privately just by accident. I just answered it and went privately. But basically, his question was about the level 8 or the electric guitar. 8th grade. I don't know how well known on your side of the world, but it is fine. I'll just say a little bit for those of you who are thinking of audition for us. What we say is you need to audition in a way that represents you. That's what we recommend that you do. That you don't try and play something that you think, oh, they'll like this, but I'm not really comfortable, but they won't like what I do. So what we're looking for when people are auditioning is that we really what we're looking for is obviously musicianship, but also potential and musicality. Musicality is really important to us. That people are musical. In other words, we say, they're musical. And now that's a broad church, but you can hear it pretty much. I think, Damien and Jason I've done a lot of auditions, but nothing like what those two, and Marek, what those guys have done. And I think we'd all agree that that's a thing. Someone can just play about 8 bars of something, and you just know. I mean, you absolutely know. I remember a girl came and played a Haydn sonata one time, and within about 3 bars, it was like, she's great. I mean, it's just the musicality of the way she played. It's the way she played. She played the music fine, she played it technically correctly, but it wasn't just that. It was this extra thing. So I think I would imagine that would be the same for Berkeley when they're auditioning. But for us, we certainly ask you to do something that you believe represents you in the best way that you can, in whatever style that is.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that we're not looking necessarily for technical prowess in an audition. We're looking for musicality, as Ronan said. So your ability to connect through the music that you're performing.
Yeah.
Cool. Another question here. Siddharth is asking which American Ronan is referring to, and please.
What American did I say?
I don't know.
I didn't think I said anything about American, but
other questions about DCU, about the program at Berkeley, about just careers in music, especially for Sivan, who's living in New York, Maria, who's in Kathmandu, and Elliot, who's in Los Angeles. I mean, you've got you have people on the ground right now in different parts of the world that can tell you about what they're doing and what's happening in the industry. So feel free, feel free to unmute. You don't have to stay on mute, but feel free to just raise your hand. Or Emily, you got a question there?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if like Sivan, Marie, or Elliot had done any postgraduate study and like kind of how you decided where to go with it.
What do you mean, if I studied somewhere after Dublin?
Yeah, like any master's programs, like after doing the DCU and the whole Berkeley thing, did it kind of point you in a different direction with postgraduate stuff?
I think living in New York is a big postgraduate learning hub. I did release, well, since moving to New York, I released 2 albums, and I toured like so many places in the world, and just by doing that, and like, you have a whole building in Dublin that is like international, and here it's like a whole city of international studies and hang. So with all my love and appreciation to the schools, I really recommend, if you want to tour and perform and make music, there's, do it. Put your feet in the mud and then fall and then get up, and you learn.
Having said that, it might be worthwhile, because now Berkeley does do postgraduate things, just maybe because we have some people on here who are from later years in our program, who might be like Emily, who might be thinking about something like that. So maybe you could explain a little bit about the postgraduate things that Berkeley do.
Yeah, we have a number of different options to pursue a master's at Berkeley. So there are 4 programs on our campus in Valencia, Spain. There's a technology program, there's a film scoring program, there's a business program, and there's a performance program. And we just launched our new master's programs in New York City. So a couple of years ago, Berkeley purchased the Power Station, which is one of the most renowned recording studios on the planet. Many of the records that we all, well, at least some of us all grew up on, were recorded at the Power Station. It's an incredible facility. And we're launching a Master of Arts there this coming fall. And there will be a track in songwriting and production. There'll be a track in live experience design, which is basically how you design live experience. Sorry, I don't mean to be. But a rock concert, a conference, it could be a theater type of experience. That's an area that's growing very, very quickly, and there's a real need for graduates in that area. And then the third track in New York is writing for theater. Writing books, writing songs for theater. And then in Boston, we have the Global Jazz Masters program under the artistic directorship of Danila Perez. So quite extensive. We also have a number of graduate programs at the conservatory. We merged with the Boston Conservatory 4 years ago. And so there are, if you want to take a more classical track in your graduate studies, you can study classical composition at the master's level, performance at the master's level at the conservatory as well. And this is an area for the college that's growing rapidly. So I'd expect that you'll see more opportunities down the road.
Can I just ask, you mentioned the masters that linked with the classical, would that still have performance elements to it, or would that be nearly all kind of compositional and theoretical?
No, there's a classical performance masters. So it's
oh, sorry, okay.
All performance, yeah.
Cool.
The one important thing to know about the master's degrees on the college side is that they're one-year masters, which is, it makes it a lot more affordable to get your master's degree. It's incredibly intense because it's essentially 2 years of work squished into 1 year. So you have to be really ready and focused to do that, but they're incredible programs. On the conservatory side, those are 2-year programs.
We have a couple of graduates from our program who went on to do masters in Valencia, so I can probably hook you up with them. Or you can talk to me later. I can hook you up with them. You can chat to them about what their experience.
That'd be great. Yeah. Thanks, Ronan.
I think we have time for one more question here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hey, Siddharth, go ahead, man. Can you hear us? We can hear you.
You're not audible.
Sid, we can hear you. Go ahead, man.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Question is I play keyboard and I sing. So my interest is in all the three. So which program would be suitable for me, would be best for me? And I love all genres, mainly pop, then classical and jazz also I love. So which program should be best for me?
Sid, just raise your hand. Yeah, Sid, can you hear us? Raise your hand if you can hear us. Can you hear us? Raise your hand. Sid?
I don't think he can hear us.
All right, so. Sid, we'll have to take your call offline. Maybe Ray, if you can grab Sid's email address and we could follow up with him afterwards, that would be helpful because he's having trouble hearing us. But to answer Sid's question, what's really interesting about the DCU and Berkeley programs is you're coming to institutions that have diverse student body, lots of depth in musical core learning, and lots of experience from the professionals that teach the program. The recommendation that I have, and I know that Damien, Ronan, Madik, Cormac, everybody here, our guests Sivan and Maria and Elliot might share this as well, is take a minute when you get into the program and enjoy it. Because you might find from the experience of sitting in the classes that the goal that you had may change. You might, like Sivan, if you could, when you started off, you had something in mind, but then your plan changed. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So could you walk us through that one more time? Because I think this is really good to illustrate the point.
Well, I can go just a bit further back. Ronan mentioned that I'm a dancer, so I was doing intense dance training, and I went to Rimon, which is the bin in Israel, and I was positive that I'm gonna go to the dance thing, and then something in the way changed my mind basically, and I went with music. So I went full on to Rimon, and then I really wanted to go to Berkeley, and things didn't work out the way I planned, and basically I met Ronan at exactly that time, and someone just shared with me that that program is happening in Dublin. So I auditioned because, you got to be open. open-minded, and yeah, and that's
cool.
just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, well, I mean, you move forward. And Elliot, you were really focused on performance, but now you're producing and you're working on sync licensing, and so that's definitely a whole other phase of creativity, right?
Yeah, no, I was always quite interested in various things. That's I think that's why when you were saying take a moment and enjoy it, I think it's a really good point, because everything's so linked anyway, even though it doesn't seem it necessarily at the time. But I was in a band in the UK for a while when I was a little bit younger, and that was kind of a main thing, and we toured a bunch, and then I was kind of looking for what to do next. Got into production. So I started at Dublin with the intention of, I knew I was going to do MP&E at Berkeley. I was like, that was always what I was going to do. And really enjoyed performing for the 2 years too, because I always enjoyed that part anyway. But yeah, and then at Berkeley, I did a bunch of different classes, and I did one that was massive for me was this class about jingle writing with John Aldrich. And that for me was huge and opened my mind to like a whole different area. So now my like side job often is that. Like I actually just had a song. I did one of the songs for the Borat 2 trailer that just came out. So that was, I did a Kazakhstan version of Without Me by Eminem.
Oh man.
So I did that, and that was just using the Borat 2 trailer, which was really awesome. And also I've been singing on California radio as a part of a State Farm radio campaign for about a year and a half. So my voice has been on various radios across California singing this random song. And that was really awesome. I also did a little Hasbro toy commercial. So that's on the side of producing like artists and stuff.
Right.
And that was just really cool, just to kind of be open to things that might change how you think about music and what you could do with music. Because I think that stuff's awesome. It's just composing completely different types of music, and it's really funny. And it's fun hearing your voice in the radio selling car insurance. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, right. Well, fame comes in different ways, right?
Yeah. There's a Reddit post saying it was one of their favorite adverts ever, and people are like, "Oh my god, I love it when it's on the radio." So to be some small part of that was pretty great. Yeah.
And Maria, just to wrap this up as we come to the end of the session, can you talk just to answer Sid's question, which I'm sure is on everybody's mind, is, were there any things on the path that just sort of helped you to change your direction or help you inform what you were going to do in your career?
Oh my God, I changed direction so many times, guys. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be like the next Fiona Apple. And then I fell in love with jazz because I couldn't do it. So I was like, oh, I need to get this. And then I started to get very addictive to not getting things and trying very hard to do them. So that was what I really enjoyed. So yeah, when I got to Berkeley, I was doing songwriting for a semester, and then I was like, no, I want to sing. Like I miss it so much because I was writing too much, and I did performance. It's very late here, so my brain is a little bit off. But I did performance, and I thought that I was just gonna be a performer. I was even like, I'm not gonna teach because I'm gonna get distracted. And I didn't want to go to New York. I actually, somebody was talking about postgraduate. I got accepted with a scholarship to New England Conservatory twice, but not enough of a scholarship. So I looked for that because I wasn't very sure of what I wanted to do. But then I ended up in Kathmandu for 3 months. I was gonna teach here for 3 months, and then we had a project. We had a project of creating a 2-year diploma for students who wanted to audition for schools. And I thought about Ronan. I actually wrote to Ronan when we were starting that up, because it really inspired me to see what they had done in Dublin. And I learned a lot. Oh, look who's there. It changed everything. I'm still doing a lot of music, performing. I perform a lot more here than I did when I was in Boston. I have a lot of gigs, and I just recorded an album with a band here, which is very hard. And yeah, I changed my mind so many times, I really think that you have to listen to how you have to listen to your heart and music is always there, no matter what, you know, and music is always gonna find a way, you know, and everything that you do, like teaching has made me such a better musician, and composing as well, and being in a city that nobody thinks that is the epicenter of jazz world, and being a jazz musician has also taught me so many things. So don't, like, keep your goals, but don't be afraid of changing them when something comes along that just blows your mind. That would be my advice.
Stay open. There you go.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's a good point for us to kind of settle on here. Before we go, I'd just like to take a moment to introduce my friend and colleague. He's an incredible guitarist. And he's actually going to be, for those of you that are looking to come to Berkeley, he'll be your key person to connect in with. And Marek, thank you for joining us. I know it's been a full session here. We had a lot of people talking, but can you tell us a little bit more about opportunities that any of the folks here might have to connect with you and any of the sessions you're doing online, or just if they have questions, how can they reach you?
Sure. So thank you very much for being here, everybody. We have a big admissions department at Berkeley. We deal with students from different countries, and so we operate globally. So the way international admissions work, we have people who are devoted to specific areas. My area is Europe, Africa, and Middle East. However, if you would like to reach admissions, the best address is admissions@berkeley.edu, and I'll post this address here in the chat. And you know, we have several different questions that relate to anything from programs at Berkeley, through audition process, through scholarship opportunities. There are a lot of people that work in admissions office, and we all make sure that your inquiries are answered in time. So admissions at Berkeley is the best address, and then you will be routed maybe directly to a person who deals with the region that you come from.
Cool. This is great to know. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Ronan and Cormac for being incredible partners, to Sivan, Maria, and Elliot for being the success, showing us that, you know, all this work that everybody does actually results in great things, and for being the advocates for all the other musicians that you work with as artists and educators. We truly appreciate, you know, the work that you do. For those of you that are here, you know, stay tuned. We're going to be emailing you and connecting with you about upcoming online events. There's another one that's coming up on, I think, Ronan, it's December 9th, right? We're going to do one focusing on rhythm section playing and the art of rhythm section playing. We've got Cheryl Bailey from the guitar department who's going to join us, and maybe some other colleagues from the Berkeley community and maybe from DCU. So for those of you that are rhythm section players or working with rhythm section players, this will be a session you're going to want to hang for. And obviously, you know, follow these artists on social media. I mean, Sivan, Maria, and Elliot are online. Go to their websites, check them out, follow their careers, and then follow us on social media as well. I mean, you know, Ronan is an avid social media person. And yeah, and we've got, you know, BerkleeGlobal. You can follow BerkleeGlobal on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and just stay in contact with us so that we can connect you to these sessions that we're having. We really appreciate your questions. We appreciate your time. Please stay healthy. Keep creating music. Stay connected to one another. And we'll see you all at the next Global Connections session. All right. Thanks, everybody.
I just want to say thank you very much to Jason and Ray and Marek and Damien and the team for really did so much work to set this up. So we really appreciate that as always. And thank you for everyone who came. Thank you very much for joining in. And it's great. Thank you. Special thanks to Maria, Elliot, and Sivan, whom I haven't seen in. We'll have to do the Zoom thing individually now. We're going to have to do it. Haven't seen them for ages, and it's really great to see you all doing such amazing things. Just fantastic. It really, from an educator's point of view, it's really great when you see people that you've worked with, you know, go on to do the kind of amazing things that the three of you are doing. So that's fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks very much. It was great to see you all.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Maria,
thank you so much.
go feed your cat so that it stops jumping all over you.
Good luck to everyone.
Take care.
On your
Thanks.
journey.
Take care. Be
Thank
safe,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.